Hello, I'm Robin. Welcome to Bookspin. Angerhelm is the penultimate story in the rediscovery of man. And so I'm fast approaching the end of my Cordwainer Smith reading project. And this is a particularly interesting one, this story. It's pretty different to anything I've come across before by this author. I would describe it as an eerie mystery thriller with supernatural elements. In fact, I'm not really sure if it could really be called SF. Maybe a ghost story would be a more accurate term to use. Anyway, there is a really compelling mystery at the heart of the story and a palpable tension that builds throughout with an intriguing climax, which, while is definitely satisfying as the end of the story, it does leave the reader with some unanswered questions. So this is another one of Cordwainer Smith's Cold War stories and seems to draw on his background in military intelligence. It's narrated in the first person, which is also pretty unusual for this author, and it's told from the perspective of an American budget office assistant who becomes embroiled in a bizarre intelligence mystery. He doesn't really get very actively involved in the plot, but more acts as a kind of observer in the events that unfold. So this involves a really strange phenomenon that has been detected by a Soviet space capsule that has both American and Soviet intelligence agencies flummoxed. Basically, the capsule is discovered to contain a tape recording which contains a subliminal message. And so whenever this tape gets played, on the surface, all you can hear is a series of clicks and buzzes. But everyone who listens to it also somehow unconsciously perceives a message. And this message contains the name and address of an individual. It's an American man, specifically Nelson Angerhelm, 2322 Ridge Drive, Hopkins, Minnesota. So everyone who listens to this message hears this kind of subliminal message underneath. But the weird thing is, no one knows how they hear this message, or can even really be sure that there is a voice within the recording. So that's kind of weird. And of course, this thing is coming from a Soviet source. Naturally, this leads to some diplomatic confusion. But the Soviets share their intelligence with the Americans. They're both equally confused. Ultimately, the FBI decide that the only way forward is to bring the recording to Angerhelm himself, who is a real individual, and he does indeed live at the specified address in Minnesota. And he is an aging chicken farmer with no apparent reason to be the focus of such international intrigue. And this is the turning point in the story, and this is where things start to get pretty crazy. I will go on, but if you don't want to hear the spoiler, you can stop watching now, go and read the story, and come back later if you wish. I can definitely recommend it. Anyway, moving on. So they bring the recording to Angerhelm himself in Minnesota. He listens to the message. He, of course, also hears the subliminal message. But not only that, he identifies the voice in the subliminal message as his dead brother, Weiss. The plot thickens. The investigation deepens. And this guy, Angerhelm, he's able to identify a much longer message buried within this recording, which only he can perceive, and which the narrator transcribes as part of his job as this kind of assistant. So what this amounts to, this longer message, is essentially a message from beyond the grave, in which this guy's brother goes into an eerie monologue describing his state of consciousness in the afterlife, his loss of self, and an overwhelming state that seems to be neither heaven nor hell, but something else. The way he describes it is strange. It kind of sounds liberating, but also terrifying at the same time, which sounds a little bit paradoxical, I know. But we also learned that Weiss sends this message to his brother through the Soviet satellite as a kind of final cosmic joke. And so the story finishes with both the Americans and the Soviets baffled. Of course, there's no evidence that any of this message is real or where it originated from. It is just what this guy, Nelson Angerhelm, claims he can hear and has been dictated. So it could all be an elaborate hoax. But neither the Soviets nor the Americans created the message, and neither can explain how a dead person could imprint a subliminal message transmission onto a Soviet space capsule. So it's left a mystery, and we have a bit of an ambiguous ending. But essentially, this is a ghost story, and it's also a psychological mystery told within the trappings of a tale of military espionage. So it's quite a big departure from, the kind of weird and wonderful instrumentality of mankind storytelling that you may be used to with this author. But you know what? I really enjoyed this one. I think it's an absorbing and unsettling mystery that reveals the depths of this author's imagination and his versatility as a writer. Definitely worth checking out.